How you doing? It's the Butcher here, and today I have a video on the most recent patch which came out about an hour ago that added unique crafting to the game. So I wanted to kind of go over it, give my thoughts. I think it's going to be very disappointing to a lot of people. So I personally was able to craft my Shaco because I had 7 Uber drops. One of them you can see here being Starless Skies. I got the Spear of Lycander. I got 3 Indariel's Visages, 2 second Starless Skies, and 2 Melted Heart of Selig. So what is that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry, 8 Uber unique drops. But to give you perspective on that, I actually did the exact number this season, the exact number of runs. I did 757 Duriel runs for those 8 Ubers. 757. Now, I am someone that plays the game an absolute ton, and I spend pretty much all my time playing the game up until this point, farming Duriel, trying to get a Shaco for the most part, is what I really needed. So, the average person, though, and what I do, you can see how much gold I'll do. I'll do like a ton of Whispers on 2 separate characters. I'll farm Helltide on 2 separate characters, and I'll trade that in, especially the Whispers give you a bunch of gold. Then I'll use that. I'll go to Diablo trade. I'll buy more shards is usually what I need because I like doing the Whispers better, and it gives you more gold to buy more shards, etc. I'll also sell my items if I find any good amulets and stuff that or gloves that I don't need. It's an easy way to make 100, 200 million, and I'll use that to buy more mats, etc. And that's how I'm able to do so many runs, and by also playing for hours upon hours upon hours a day. The average person cannot do that. Again, so for me to be able to craft 1, and I would have 1 shard left over from ones I didn't need. I kept the Selig because I had to, but I don't need the Selig, so I could have technically have 1 shard left over. So, for example, my other character is a rogue. The thing I'm missing on that is I wanted a Doombringer. I would have to farm, either get the Doombringer to drop, or farm an extra 4 Uber uniques, which, you know, if you do kind of what I've been going on so far this season, that's about another, 375 runs or so in order to be able to get it, which is just absolutely, astronomical. And that's not counting the fact that, let's say I drop a Shaco now after I crafted one. Well, now it feels like my things went to waste. I know that's kind of how it works, but the biggest issue is the ratio. So what you do is you come over to this guy, you salvage whatever Uber you got, you go bam, he gives you 1 shard. I have heard reports of people not getting their replenish spark. I have heard reports of that's just reading. I was watching like Rob's stream and seeing his Twitch chat, but that is definitely a problem if that's happening. That's ridiculous, and it does not appear like there's a chance to get any more than 1 based on getting lucky. And I'm just gonna give my thoughts about it. I'm running a shred build right now too. I'm actually gonna have 2 videos out on this. I have 2 versions of this. One using the Spear of Lycander, and it's really fun, and it could be really good for a gauntlet specifically if, like, I think I mentioned this even in my last video, if it is kind of like a level 70, level 80-ish, should be able to dominate pretty easily. But either way, the real problem is it's 2 things, right? The average person is not going to be able to run Duriel that many times, or want to, frankly. It's boring as all hell, let's be honest. Run Duriel that many times in order to get all these Uber uniques that they don't want, and then trade them in for 1, and then if they want more than 1, keep doing it, and then hopefully not get a dupe of the one you already crafted by trading in 5 of your Uber uniques. So the ratio is terrible. It should have been changed. I don't know why. I knew they were going to do 1-to-1, but I just hoped they would have saw the feedback and done at least 2. I think if they did 2, people would have been a lot happier with the change. I think it makes it a lot more realistic for people. I think honestly, 2 to 3 to 2 2-to-1 to 3-to-1 ratio would have been much more acceptable than 5-to-1. It's just way too much. It's way too much for 95% of your player base. And the people that are going to be able to engage to it are the ones doing a ton of Durga runs anyway. And unless you're unlucky like me, probably got the Shaco to drop already, so they wouldn't even need to, interact with the system. But it just seems backwards in the way they've done it. Now, I've done a couple Nightmare dungeons or vaults, whatever they are, since the patches come out. There is an increased chance of them to drop in the open world. How much that is, we don't know. If that's increased by a lot, that'll make this whole thing a lot different. But that's something that's going to take, most likely days. I know there'd be probably someone that gets one like right away and, whatever. But that's something that'll take days, if not weeks, to really see the impact of the changes and how much more often that they actually do drop. But as of right now, I mean, it's not engaging for 95% of the community or so. And it's a real shame. I can't imagine they didn't see the feedback when it came out. People were speculating that it was 1-to-1, that it wasn't. People, were not happy with that. And they have the data on how many people have 5+ Ubers within a season or just in general. They have that data. They have every form of data you could possibly have about the players in this game. They made a conscious decision on what they were doing. Part of me thinks, and this has been a way it's kind of turning into a little bit of a rant, but it's more of like just an honest feedback. It's not really, it's what I expected, so you can't even be that angry. And it is better than things were before, don't get me wrong. Like, it's better to be able to have crafting. Like I said, I was able to utilize it, but I am in the small minority, so that should not be the case. But it definitely is better than before, being able to craft them. So I don't have 3 Endara Rails sitting there that I don't want to ever use. But either way, I mean, I really wish they saw the feedback earlier and didn't do this. It's been a constant theme, and it's on purpose. And I've talked about this before, but they come out with it. You never see them come out with stuff that's like over the top and like makes people super happy, or people think it's even too much. It's always on the lower end, and what they do is they'll end up buffing it. So who knows? I don't know if they'll do it this season, because that's a really tough pill to have people swallow. If you're gonna say, sorry, you already traded yours in, but now you get 2 for everyone you trade in. I don't think you could really do that at this point, but I would assume probably next season they get the feedback like, hey, look, now we bumped them up to 2, and everyone rejoice. But really, you're just, what do you call it? Creating a problem, selling the solution. They're doing that every single time, and it's just disappointing to see. You've already delayed the gauntlet. We're missing all this stuff. So why not give people the chance, to have some fun with your game and want to engage with the game? Instead, it's like you're actively trying to push people away. And that is really just a shame. And it is something that they need to, I think, change their philosophy. It works a lot, what they do. And it's sad that it does, but it does work a lot. Is creating this problem and then selling the solution. It works a lot. It doesn't just work in Diablo. It works in a lot of other games. Activision Blizzard games, specifically Call of Duty, has done it for I don't know how many years now. They've done the same exact thing. But this is nothing new. But the state this game is in at the moment, I don't think they can afford to keep going with this philosophy. I think it's just going to drive people away. I think it is going to be, you've run out of good faith. And unlike a game like, let's say, a Call of Duty, which does this, right? Call of Duty is an annual release. And technically, yes, Call of Duty basically is a live service now. They have their seasons, they come out, their new maps, etc. But it's an annual release. Diablo 4, I'm assuming, kind of like Diablo 3, was set to be the Diablo game for basically close to the next decade. So you don't have that luxury of basically a reset button. I know you have new seasons, you have expansions that work like that in some sense, but the more good faith you take away, the less impact those things have, like new seasons, new expansions, the less impact those have on players coming back, players enjoying, players interacting, players buying the stuff in your shop, which I don't know, like, this looks new, whatever the heck, they added this, whatever. They want, this is what they want people to do. And, you can see with my skin, I'm guilty of it myself. I think they make some really cool skins. I play the game a lot. I enjoy it, so I'm okay with that. But again, I'm the minority. So this system is not targeting the majority of their audience and the ones that they need to come back, the ones they get to engage, because the whales are going to be there basically no matter what, unless you completely fall off a cliff. So overall, my opinion on the system is it's better than nothing, but it's just not what it should have been. You've excluded about 95% of your player base, maybe 90%, if I'm being generous, honestly, seriously, that have that many Uber Uniques to have the luxury of trading them in. So that's going to be it for the video. That's it on the changes. I just did want to talk about it because I know this is going to be the hot point, for the foreseeable future, probably to the Gauntlet releases, honestly, because there doesn't look to be any changes really before that. But was the change good? No. Was it better than it was before? Yes. Does it still need a whole revamp? Yes. And I guess the final thing I'll close this with is, I guess basically what I would have done is, so there's really two things I would have done here. It is so you get these sparks, right? And I think there's several things they could have done. One, obviously, just making Ubers more, but even beyond that, it was actually something Rob said, is making uniques count as, essentially, I would call them shards. So if you get 100 shards or so, you can turn it into a spark, or 50 shards, whatever the ratio might be, right? So if you salvage a unique, just a regular unique, so like a, like this ring right here or whatever, you salvage one of those, or like the boots, you get one resplendent spark shard, I would call it, or something like that. You get 50 of them, or you get 100 of them, you can exchange them into a spark. The other thing I would have done, and something I talked about, I think, before, is it would be a form of basically bad luck protection from Duriel. So people have said the drop rate is 2%. I've been over this. It is definitely not 2%, just the majority of the people. That was from about testing right at the beginning from some streamers, and that's what they got. But most people don't. It's more like you can expect like 70 to 80 runs per is more likely, like 75, 80 runs. So I think it's about a 1.5% drop rate. And what I think they could do as a form of bad luck protection is also, every time you kill Duriel, he'll end up dropping, if you notice, a bunch of, what are they, like these coiling wands. That's why I have so many, because I killed them so many times that, these are like useless. I have more of them than I do the crystals. But he'll drop some of these. So why not, along with that, every single time you kill them, he drops one shard. So a resplendent spark shard, like I mentioned before, like you would get from salvaging a regular unique. You could also have it so every time you kill him, you get one of those, and then you're able to trade those into these actual sparks. So that way the people have done 400 runs and haven't got an Uber to drop, and they definitely can't interact with the system. At least they'll have some way of obtaining an Uber for their hard work, putting in to get the mats, to take the time to actually kill them, because that's a whole process in of itself, going out, going back in, etc. So I think that would be, I don't think they should program like a bad luck protection. Like if you've done 100 runs and you haven't gotten one, you get one automatically. That just seems weird, and I don't think they would do that anyway. But I think him dropping these shards, so to say, to build up every time you kill him to get these sparks would be a great form of bad luck protection, basically. So even when you're killing them and you're not getting them to drop, you still feel like you're making progress, and I would think it would make this Duriel grind, which probably needs an overhaul in the beginning, I think it would make it much more enjoyable. So that's what I would have done. That's what I would just suggest to them. I would also definitely suggest just changing the Duriel rotation in and of itself. But that's my thoughts on the update today and the Uber Unique crafting. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's been The Butcher. And my next I think it's going to be two separate videos, are going to be over the Shred build, which I think I mentioned in my last one for the Tornado. Could be very nasty for the upcoming Gauntlet. And I will have a version, I like running it like this, or with the Spear of Lycander. It can get pretty nuts with that thing. But anyway, it's been The Butcher. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.